Welcome to the Pop-Off with Gene FitzMagic and friends. Your daily sports and entertainment radio show, live all over the world. You're going to want to hear what these guys have to say. With their hot takes, recaps, previews, and predictions, sometimes these guys might get along, but most times, they won't. So see what happens when these guys pop off about the world of sports and entertainment.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the closeout of week one of the Pop-Off. It is Friday, April 7th, 2023, and welcome to the Pop-Off show. We are actually finishing up our first week, and we have three new hosts to introduce this week, this episode. I know we've kind of staggered them along, but this day we actually have three new ones, and these I have something in common with all these people, where some of us have like just totally different like walks of life that we all kind of came together on. These are three people that I can say I have a lot in common with. Some I know for forever, some I've known for a short period of time, but I already know that these are like my people. As a Jet fan, and everyone's gonna say, if you're saying, hey, why are you wearing that Jet jersey twice in a week? That's gross. I'm wearing it because it's a tribute to someone that's on here that is also a Jet fan. So I kind of come through with my favorite Jet jersey. But you know what? Let's introduce our hosts. First, this guy has been with me since I started broadcasting and audio podcast stuff 3 years ago. We met during the pandemic, and he's been my brother ever since. So let's bring him in, Joey D. Hey,
what's up, my brother? How did we get here, man?
It's been a short ride and a long ride at the same time, if that makes any sense. But
it does. Incredible to be here, man. Super excited. I'm so honored to have that you would have me.
You know what? I couldn't do anything without my brother, man. So, I got two brothers on the show for sure. Patty, my actual blood brother, and Joey, my spiritual brother, I guess. I don't know how else you would put it, but when we were doing this next thing, obviously you two were coming no matter what. So blessed to have you guys part of it. Blessed to and here's another thing too. Joey is, as everybody kind of might know already, I'm a Disney nerd. Joey himself is a Disney nerd. He made it kind of like where I felt like, hey, it's okay to be a Disney nerd because no one's gonna say nothing to me because I just could point to, look at this guy's arms. Stop. So let's bring in the next one. Before we bring him in, I want to say a couple things about him because from minute one, he's one of the biggest Disney influencers on the planet. And from minute one that I've met him, he has been so super gracious in a day and age where people are only super gracious on camera. This is a guy that's been super gracious off camera from minute one. We had some stuff in common. We're both from the same area. We both love Disney. And he's actually one of the reasons why I was even able to do a podcast in the first place, because I didn't know what Disney influencing was until I found him on a documentary. Back in the day, he did a documentary, and I was like, that's my guy. And, from that, I reached out to him, and we had him on our audio podcast. But I'm probably embarrassing him a little bit right now because he doesn't know how much of an inspiration he really was to me. I wouldn't be doing this. Looking aside, I wouldn't even be doing any of this stuff if it wasn't for this man. So let's bring him out. Panda John Sakari.
So I was planning on being like, well, cool to say hello. And now you got me like almost crying. So thank you for that.
It's honestly true. From the minute we met, we did a podcast on Zoom, I think at the time, a podcast interview on Zoom. And, you were so supportive. You gave me your phone number. Hey, call me when you come to Florida. I'll help you show you around, because I was talking about moving down there. And even before I knew you, you were someone that I looked at. I was like, wow, people can talk about Disney and put it on camera and people actually watch. And I was like, he was like the inspiration originally. You were the inspiration originally for me. Yep. So I want to say this wouldn't even be where we're at. Even though this is non-Disney, we wouldn't even be doing this. I wouldn't even know Joey really probably either if you didn't inspire me to do that Disney stuff that brings me to meet Joey, that gets me to do sports stuff and entertainment stuff. So,
and the reason I'm here is because you inspire me as well. So you don't know that, but it's true. So I
appreciate that. Well, thank you so much. And I'm glad to have you here. It's nice.
Joey's going to cry now.
Joey, my mom usually says I'm no good. So
at least I know there's one that, Gene inspires. Somebody.
I got one. It's Panda and my dog Zoe. All right.
Could you imagine though, three Disney guys? If somebody like this Disney and all of us just like as a bruiser, I could be a bruiser too. We could get him.
Oh,
there we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Disnerd is good.
Love the shirt, by the way.
We got the pit bull and the panda. So all right, but she's not a Disney nerd. Like this is our Disney show, I guess, but she's not a Disney. But what she is a Jet fan, and the best part about it is she wasn't forced to be a Jet fan because she grew up in New York and she didn't know any better like I was. She She actually saw the Jets and said from afar and said, "I want to follow them." And I got to tell you, I respect that big time. So let's bring her in, Abby Washington. Abby,
you save the best for last.
Well, it's because you're a Jet fan. And
I know, and we're used to being last all the time.
Yes,
Finished fourth again this year.
But there's a bright future ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm super stoked for like this upcoming season. We got Brees back. We'll get into all of that later, obviously. But yeah,
for sure. I think Brees is going to be fantastic. I think, and he's young enough to bounce right back from it. So,
right.
But you know what? We got a couple of headlines we're going to go over today, guys. We got the Aaron Rodgers saga, so we will talk some Jets, some Packers, and maybe some 49ers in that too. We're going to talk a little Super Mario Brothers. The opening of the movie finally dropped. We got also too, for anyone that might know us from the Disney community. Just Disney, any other sports. Pete McDevitt, we have a segment with Pete McDevitt called What's Poppin Pete. We're going to bring him on for a little bit. He's going to talk to us about what to watch. What's the can't miss stuff this weekend in sports and entertainment. We have a great guest in today, Brian Volk-Weiss, who is a director of so many cool documentaries and comedy specials. He's worked with everybody. I mean, like if you look at the comedy list he's worked with, it's like everybody in comedy has worked with this man. And he's a great knack for making documentaries not boring, but making them super fun and entertaining. He's one of the best at it. So we have him in the house for a little interview later on around 1 o'clock. We're also going to be talking about, hey, I know it's overreaction city, but the first week in baseball, we're going to be talking about what we might be surprised about, what might happen this week in baseball. There's going to be a lot of overreactions, I think. And then we're going to close out the show. We're going to do a little off-season NFL. We're going to talk a little head coaches who might be on the hot seat already. It's only April, but we know the NFL also overreaction city. There's some already guys. People will just wait for week one, that first loss to put it in the paper. This guy's got to go. Head's got to roll. So with all that, guys, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to jump right into our first segment.
Craving your favorite.
Poorly produced.
Happiness is addictive. Passionate about spreading laughter and creating smiles worldwide. Happiness is addictive. Brings our global community together through humor, optimism, cheer, hopefulness, and merriment. Happiness is addictive. Happiness is addictive.
Hey guys, go check out Your Fairy Tale Vacation. Cell number 713-817-5934. Go ask for Neil Schuchart, Neil at yourfairytalevacation.com. Instagram, Disney Universal Travel Planner. He specializes in Disney World, Disneyland, Alana, Universal, Orlando, Hollywood, and all the cruise lines, as you can see right there. Make sure you go check him out. He's going to be he's amazing. He gets you anywhere you need to go. All free quotes, all free travel planning. Go check him out. Yourfairytalevacations.com. All right. So, guys, we have to talk about some Aaron Rodgers business because I don't know when this saga is going to end. This dang saga. Let's bring him on out here. So Aaron Rodgers. Look, we got the Packers, Jets, San Francisco 49ers. Now, all of a sudden, the San Francisco 49ers come out of nowhere. What is that about? Like, Joey, can you take your team away, please? I mean, why are they always going to get involved?
I meant to talk to you about. I meant to message you the other day when I saw that kind of popped up. They're like, hey, if the Jets don't work out, the Niners were ready to kind of pounce on that. I was like, I mean, it's interesting because this has drug on for so long, and it's like kind of like, what are you guys waiting for? Like, Aaron Rodgers many times has already said, yeah, I'm going to commit to the Jets, and I don't know if it's the Packers want it, depending what they're asking for, et cetera. But yeah, it's funny to see the Niners kind of sneak up in there now.
I don't know if, well, first of all, can I ask, did you guys hear me say poorly produced before? Did that make the air?
It did.
It did. Now, I wanted it to. That was actually a little tribute to everyone's familiar with Mike Mad Dog, Chris Mad Dog Russo. from the old Mike and the Mad Dog program. He used to, whenever there would be a little screw, he'd be like, poorly produced. So that was a little tribute to someone I used to look at that used to be also inspiring to me. But anyway, all right. So back to the Jets. Yeah, I don't know I mean, the Jets only have 5 picks to trade away. So like, we already know that it's not going to be the first pick. It sounds like Woody and Joey knows. Listen, I've complained to Joey many a times. I don't know if Abby really knows my rants yet because I haven't really ranted to her about some of the stuff. But I blame the fact that it's been so hard on Woody because Woody Johnson ran his mouth off, shoots his mouth off at the end of the season. No, we paid 2 first-round picks. So of course, if I'm the Packers, I'm looking at it like, all right, well, let's get some first-round picks. He said he's willing to pay for it. Yeah. So when you do, it's like if I'm going to put a sign on my car that I'm selling that's going to say selling for $5,000, and then I can't just also charge more. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, or if I go to a place, I'm like, hey, I'll buy that car for $5,000. The guy's not going to sell it to me for $3,000. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, you can't shoot your mouth off as an owner, man. Like, let the GMs do their job. And of course, that might be what's part of the reason why it's getting held up right now. Abby, come on. I mean,
honestly, I'm more blaming all Green Bay. First of all, they barely dropped the idea that they weren't going to get the 13th pick. For me, from the start of this, that was never an option.
Me neither.
You were never going to get the 13th pick. And you drop it like a week ago. But the thing is, it's like everyone's talking about leverage here. Like, who has more leverage, Green Bay or the Jets? Like, I get arguments for both sides. Green Bay, you don't want Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers don't want you. And honestly, a lot of people are making a bunch of comparisons like to Brett Favre in that trade. They didn't get a first-round pick. If I'm correct. Yeah. No. So it's like, you don't want him and he's not going to be essentially worth that much. And like I said, comparing him to Brett Favre, that you didn't even get that trade then. So why are you expecting it now? And it's crazy on Twitter, everyone just offering their suggestions as to what we should offer them. And what I've always been a big proponent of this offseason is we can give him one of the second-round picks this year. And then I'm all for, like, in 2024, giving them a conditional first, depending on maybe Aaron Rodgers and if he decides to play. And then people are getting, like, down to the nitty-gritty, like, well, if he plays 8 games or more, like, no, he needs to play a complete season.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, from my perspective, even if we just, like, make the playoffs, like, that's the bare minimum. We're already going to make the playoffs. We already almost made the playoffs this year without him. So it's like we're going to have to make – in order to make it like a conditional pick, like a first round pick, which is what I think they want either in 2024 or 2025, we need to make the AFC Championship or we need to make the Super Bowl in order for me to even consider giving them a first round pick. Maybe a conditional second or third in the next couple of years, but the first round pick, absolutely not. Sorry, I went on a whole spiel.
No, but I get it because I could wholeheartedly agree with you. Listen, let's face it. He's a diva. He has the mindset of a diva, not like worse than Brett Favre, worse than a lot of other quarterbacks. He's always kind of been this kind of pampered guy. So you know what's going to happen. If we get him this year, he's only going to hold us ransom next year. Like, I don't know if I want to come back. I guess we'll see. I'm going to have to go to a 5-day in darkness retreat again.
He's going to do a 10-day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's going to leave us in the lurch next year till May. So, like, either way, like, I'm not even surprised that we're waiting into April now to know who our quarterback is because he's going to do it again to us next year if he does come here. So, and that's just who he is. So I agree. I think we need to have it where if I'm willing to give them a second and a third, and that way, but if he doesn't come back next year, we get a third from them if he doesn't come back. So they can have this year second and third. We'll have 2 draft picks this year or something, whatever it is, 3 draft picks this year. But then next year, if he doesn't come back next year by a certain date, if he doesn't commit by a certain date, then we get a third, or maybe if you put it the year after, because we're only going to get 2 years out of him. So at least if we know that maybe 2 years in from that, we know he didn't play the second year, then we get the 2025 draft pick, third round pick back. I'm all for that. I'm also, if we do, I'm willing to give them the second round pick this year, the third round pick this year. And if we do make that AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, I'm willing to give him I'd give him a first rounder if that happens.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's worth it to me. I mean, maybe the Super Bowl's got to be a first rounder. Maybe AFC Championship game is a second rounder, and the Super Bowl is a first rounder. Maybe that, because we've been to some AFC Championship games and all for nothing. Like, that feels like that might have all happened 50 years ago. But do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, it's been 12 years and we're the longest playoff team with the longest drought in the playoffs. But
don't remind me, my God. The entire time I've liked the Jets, they've sucked. That's how you know I'm a true fan.
That's how. Yeah, at least I've been here since I was actually the first year I was a Jet fan was 92 when they went to the playoffs and lost to the Oilers 17-10. But let me ask, it's been a long time. But you know what? It builds character. I feel like I am who I am because of the Jets. If anybody remembers correctly, did anyone see the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where the guy guy killed himself because he was a Jet fan. They blamed the Jets for committing suicide. So listen, this is a franchise that's done this to people. But Abby, let's talk about the 49ers because I don't even want to ask Joey because he's going to be partial. Abby, 49ers, can we please tell them to mind their effing business?
No, seriously, you guys, look how far Brock Purdy went for you guys. Like, why are you wanting to trade that away? I think it's also like, not to bring up like the Patriots, but they're having their whole thing with like Mac Jones. All of a sudden, he's shit now? Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, stick with him. You guys were all about him all the
2 years ago.
Yeah, and you guys were all about him, Mr. Irrelevant, and all celebrating him. And now you're willing to go after a potentially Aaron Rodgers. Stop it.
Can I just say, I am sports challenged, but I could listen to Abby all day. I am now interested in sports. Please continue.
And that's why Abby's here, because she has some great sports takes.
I'm getting interested. She's making me want to go find out who these people are.
They didn't even want Jimmy G. So it's like, why you want to go after Aaron Rodgers? You're going to get 2 years and then be back at square one. I thought you believed in Trey Lance at one point in time too.
And they took our ex Sam Darnold. They got him over there now. I think it's a good opportunity for Sam. So
that's what happened to Sam Darnold. I'm telling you right now, I can see the look on Abby's face right now because
Abby, next Geno Smith. Are we looking at the next Geno Smith over in San Francisco?
You know what? I was so happy for Geno this past year. Like, he deserved all of that credit, and I'm glad he got like a good contract this year, and they re-signed him and everything like that. But I don't know. I don't hate on Sam. I can't. He's too nice of a guy. It just didn't work out with us. It's not like he did anything. Yeah. I mean, I would even go as far to say I probably think Sam is actually better than Zach. So let's start there.
Oh no, Zach is the worst quarterback.
Hey, I saw you.
I don't want to say history. I don't want to say history. But he's the worst quarterback in the league for sure right now.
I thought you said earlier this week Katrina could play better quarterback than him.
I might have because it's true. It's so true. Like he has been such a disappointment. I was all in. He was the guy I wanted to draft. I'll admit it. He was the guy that I wanted us to draft. I unfortunately listened to some people like Chris Sims, who Chris Sims said he's going to be better than Trevor Lawrence. That didn't really come out to be true. Let me tell you where we should have known better with Zach Wilson. He was the quarterback of his college team, and he wasn't even a team captain. How are you a quarterback and not your team captain? Like, right. There's some disconnect. If you're not the team captain and you're the quarterback of your college team, what did you do wrong to not get voted to be your? I mean, he was. Did he come out as a junior or senior? I forget now. But either way, he was a upperclassman. He was the quarterback. That's all you need to be. Basically, it's almost like a given that you're going to be the captain of your team. And he wasn't the captain of his team. And I look back, I'm saying to myself, we should have known then that there was leadership issues. Because if you can't be the captain of your college team, you can't lead an NFL team. You just can't. There's too much going on. And what do we see?
It is.
We're seeing that he's just a bad leader, a horrendously showing up late to meetings. I mean, come on, man. Like, you can even be there early. Like, it's so easy in his press conferences. I mean, so it's so easy to show up early. It's the easiest thing he could have did was just show up on time for your meetings. That's the easiest thing he could have did. And it might not have changed the fact that he still would have been garbage, but at least he could have did that. I would have loved to see us kind of like part ways with him. I know you couldn't, but I would have traded him for a 7th round pick. Just give me anything. Give me cash considerations just to get him out. And I would have kept Mike White as my backup. And then if Aaron Rodgers decides to step down after the season, I'd plug Mike White in. Get him Mike White I'd rather see Mike White under Aaron Rodgers than Zach.
The amount of Jets players that are now Miami Dolphins is ridiculous to me. It's him, Mike White, Berrios, and then one more. I'm forgetting. I think it's like a lineman or something like that. I thought it was one more, but
did Herbig go there?
Why am I blanking on it?
No, Herbig went to I think Chicago.
Yeah, but I mean, are we already settled as Zach Wilson as number 2? I think it's nice for him to sit behind Rodgers. He idolizes Rodgers. He said that in the past. They have a good relationship. They talk. It might be nice of him to sit behind him and kind of learn as to how he leads a team. But then at the same time, Aaron Rodgers is a diva. So, like, I don't need you picking up those traits.
Exactly. That's a problem. At least he's a diva. At least he earned that right to be a diva. Exactly. Zach was a diva and hasn't even earned that right. But Joey, do we think this is going to bring OBJ? Do we think it's a foregone conclusion that OBJ is a Jet once the Rodgers thing is done?
I think that might be part of what he's waiting for, aside from his monetary or what he really wants. As far as I think he was asking like $20 million. I don't think he's going to get that.
I don't think he was really. I think that was rumor. I don't think he was.
It might have been. But knowing him, I know how he usually gets with that. But yeah, it's probably what he's waiting for. And real quick, just to address the whole Niner thing, Trey Lance needed a lot of work and still needs a lot of work. And I just saw him recently. I know he's been throwing again. So his throwing motion has changed quite a bit now that he's holding the ball much higher and he's coming around his ear much more so before when it was more like a 3/4 arm. So it used to be an elongated throw. So the Niners do not know what they have in Trey Lance yet. And his ability is amazing, but even I don't believe in him fully yet because I just haven't seen it even when he's played. And as far as Purdy is pretty an awesome story, but the reality is his physical limitations will limit him. Even though he's probably on par with, say, like Jimmy G physical limitation wise, he's much quicker in processing things and he's much faster to get the ball out. And I think they're kind of worried about how this elbow is going to heal. And I'm sure they're worried about that. Darnold is interesting because he still has all the ability, but we have to understand Darnold was on some very bad teams. Unfortunately, some of those were the Jets. Yeah. But he was on some very bad teams. His best stretch of football was just the last 6 months of the season this past year where he looked really good. You put him in there with Kyle Shanahan, you put him in with Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and that type of team. I mean, if you can make Mr. Irrelevant look like he did, can we imagine what Sam Darnold might look like? I'm just putting that out there. But yes, I think the biggest issue, I think a real big mistake was letting White go. And it's interesting that the Dolphins have quite a few Jets players, considering they took a bunch of 49er players too. I mean,
they have most of the running back, the whole backfield of 49ers.
Yeah, the whole backfield, Trent Sherfield. I mean, I could go. It's crazy. So the Dolphins are not stupid. They know who to pick off the other players from other teams. So they're starting to stack themselves. With Rodgers, the Jets to me win the division, but man, Miami is intriguing with the way they are. Yeah, their big question obviously is quarterback. So. But I think going back to what you said, I think OBJ, I think it's going to bank on Rodgers. I don't see Rodgers not going there. It's not like the Packers are, even though salary cap wise, they could keep him on the roster. I don't see that happening. It doesn't make any sense. You're funding $60 million for him to sit on the bench. It just doesn't make sense. And the thing is, I think Abby's right. And I think you're right. Compensatory picks when it comes to a first round, maybe next year, depending how they do. You don't know how long Rodgers is going to stay. He's an 18-year quarterback. He doesn't have much left. So the question is going to be, how long does he last? Does he do Brady, come in, win for a few seasons and then maybe fall off? I don't know, because was last year an anomaly where he just didn't have a real great year, even though it was still not bad, 26 touchdowns to like 12 INTs. It was still good. It's just considered for Rodgers, that's a down year, I guess. So I don't know. I guess we'll see, but I think OBJ is probably waiting on that. And I know the Jets could definitely use him.
I wouldn't mind signing OBJ. I think the last number I heard was 15 million. Yeah. I would go more towards like 10 because, dude, 2 ACL tears. You haven't played all year. I don't even know what we're getting with you.
But they said he had a really good audition. So they said he was looked like the old OBJ. Here's what I would offer. Here's what I would give. I would give 2 years, 16, 12 guaranteed. He's still going to get his 12 for the year. I think you can get probably for 10 a year. You give him the 12, and then even if he doesn't really show anything for next year, you can wipe away next year. You don't have to worry about the whole 16. But I would do 2 years, 16 million. That's what I would do. I wouldn't do a 1 year because I want to make sure I got him locked in for another year if I want. But I do 2 years, 16 million, 12 up front, which guaranteed. He gets his 12 million for the year, and then the other 6 based on what happens. He might hold out because he wants more of that if he has a big year. But I think he fits in. I've never been an OBJ guy, never have been. And I didn't want him early on, but I think he fits. He's a slot receiver body that can still go on the outside. You know what I mean? Like, like there's certain guys that they're slot receivers. You're going to put him in the slot and that's where they're going to stay. Mecole Hardman is a slot receiver. You're not going to put him on the outside. In fact, I think he could be a better version of what Braxton Berrios is. We do the jet sweeps and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think he could be even more dynamic. But I keep him on the inside. With OBJ, OBJ's got that same body type, but he can actually play with the big boys on the outside. So I think he can be so instrumental. You got Lazard, who's going to be your better version of Corey Davis because what's the best ability? Availability. So he's going to be healthy, but Corey Davis was not healthy at all for us when we really needed him down the stretch in the last couple of years. You're going to have a healthier version of Corey Davis, a better version of Corey Davis. So you're already improving in that spot. Garrett Wilson, what are we going to get year 2? It's going to be better than it was year 1, and year 1 was pretty great. Excuse my language. Even though we can say what we want to say here. This is a free space, but we can. But I just my Disney part of me was like, oh.
I know.
but you know what I'm saying? So like OBJ, is he better than the kid we just traded long term? Maybe not, because we're talking how many year difference, like a 10-year, 8-year difference. But what we are going to see is this year, I think he's better than him this year. Then I'm blanking on the name. Who did we just trade? Gabby, tell me who we just traded to the Browns. We just traded him to the Browns.
Oh, Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
So we just traded Moore. He's basically the same body type as Moore, but better right now, I think, even with the injuries. Now, would I've rather had Moore going forward because he could have been here for the next 10 years? Absolutely. But now that he's already gone, all right, give me OBJ. In fact, once they traded him, I was under the mindset they better not have traded him because they brought me Cole Hardman here. They better only trade him if they're bringing OBJ here. I want nothing less than OBJ at this point. Anything less than him is now a loss on that spot where we just traded him. And I think they know. I think they know OBJ is coming, because I don't think they would have traded unless they already had like the thumbs up from OBJ saying, "Hey, just get the Rodgers thing done." And then and here's another thing too. Maybe he's holding out so that way when they do bring Rodgers in for the press conference, they bring him and OBJ. They can make a whole big thing, OBJ and Rodgers together finally after all these years in New York as a Jet, as Jets, and do the press conference with them both together sitting side by side. I think that would be pretty amazing, and I think that's maybe what he's waiting for, so they could do that. Because if he was going to sign anywhere else, he would have signed.
Oh yeah,
he would have already signed. Like Baltimore threw out some money, and who's going to Baltimore? They don't. That's a whole mess in itself. And I feel bad because our friend Petey McDevitt's going to be here in a little bit, and he's a Baltimore fan. But
Lamar, it's a whole nother thing.
It's a whole mess. The only place, and we talked about the other day, the only place I think that's really viable for him is Miami. It's just Miami doesn't have any first round picks. So how do we make that? How do we fix that? He can't. That would be the perfect spot for him. Line, running game, receivers.
Biggest thing with OBJ is going to be his health. You know this. I mean, like Abby said, you're talking 2 major surgeries back-to-back seasons. Can he even finish the season? So is he going to be every down?
Are you concerned about OBJ and the locker room dynamic and anything there, though?
No, and I think he could be a bit of a loudmouth. But what have you always heard? Every stop he's been, he's great with the young receivers. Mm-hmm. Every stop he's been, that you never hear anything bad about the locker room stuff. Like the same thing with Kyrie. Kyrie's Irving in basketball is an absolute idiot with some of the stuff he says. But every stop he's gone to, it's more of like he creates a beef with the front office, because everyone in the locker room swears that he's a good guy. Mm-hmm. But same thing with OBJ. I think OBJ's every stop he's gone, he's been a good guy, but he has he does these crazy antics. But I think you're going to see him calm. I think you see a lot calmer OBJ now going forward. I don't think he's going to be doing the fake dog peeing thing when he scores a touchdown. I think those days are behind us. He'll be exciting. He'll be exciting to watch, and he'll do some partying in the end zone when he scores. But I think for the most part, you've seen that we kind of seen the end of nutty OBJ. I think he's going to be more like the elder statesman now, and I think he needs to be. I think he needs to be for the young receivers coming up. So let's go around the horn and say, do we think it's finally going to happen? And what's our date that we think? Panda, do you think he's coming to the Jets?
Abby, do you think he's coming to the Jets, Abby?
LBJ or Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers. Is it going to actually happen?
Yes. Say yes, Panda.
Yes, I'm going to go with yes.
All right. So Panda through Abby, what date do we find things? Do we think it's going to happen before the draft, right?
Definitely, and Green Bay has said they want it done before the draft. Absolutely. What is that? What is that date? Like 2 weeks from now? Like the 20? Is it the 20th?
Yeah. The draft is the 25th.
25th.
Oh, that's on Tuesday.
Oh, it's on the 27th.
No, so that's Thursday.
Yeah, it's usually on a Thursday, right?
Yeah, it's that Thursday, so it'll be the 27th then.
Okay, I mean that's almost 3 more weeks from now. I mean, and I think I forget her name. I think it's Diana Rossi had reported yesterday that they were very, very close, to a deal. So I mean, I expect something. I'm gonna say if she just came out with that report yesterday, I want to say as early as next week. But then again, I think it's Easter this weekend. I'm like, everyone's with their families, no one's talking, so. Let's go with like April 18th, a Tuesday, a random Tuesday.
All right. Joey, what do you think? Is this eventually, is it really happen, or does Aaron Rodgers just retire or go back?
No, first of all, it's definitely going to happen. There's no way it doesn't. It's Green Bay doesn't want him. He doesn't want to be in Green Bay. It only makes sense to go to the Jets. It's not like he's already talking. I know they mentioned the Niners. I just don't see that really happening. I don't see the Jets letting it fall through to that point. So yeah, I think it'll happen. And I'm going to say probably the 20th, the Thursday before the draft that happens, at least by then, at least with Rodgers. I can't say for OBJ.
I think Rodgers. I agree. It's going to happen like right around that week, and I think it's going to be where I think they're going to have the press conference like maybe like a couple days right before the draft, as like almost like a pre-draft celebration.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be. I think they're going to announce him and OBJ together at the same. They'll announce the trade before the signing, but I think when they actually hold the press conference, I think it's going to be a joint press conference with them both sitting at the table at the podium.
Here's a question.
Yeah,
Rodgers, assuming they sign Rodgers, they get OBJ, all that good stuff. Draft comes. Are they drafting a QB?
the Jets,
No.
or the quarterback, the Packers.
No. Jets.
No, not this. We don't have enough picks to do it. I don't mess around. We have so.
You don't think they're going to try and find their Brock Purdy in 7th round?
No, I think what they're going to do is they're going to fill some of the holes they have with the little bit, because we're only going to have like 3 draft picks at that point. They're going to fill the little holes they can. To be honest, in the first round, I will draft this for another day, but
I'm not talking about
offensive lineman. But in the first round, though, real quick, that first round though, I don't want to go linemen. We have linemen that if they're healthy, they'll be fine. If they're not healthy, we won't be fine. But I'm willing to gamble that they'll be healthy. I want Branch from Alabama. Pop him in at one of those safety spots, and you have the best young secondary in the league.
Yeah.
The best. So that's why I'll go with that. And and we have plenty of time to talk draft, so we'll get to that. Panda, basically, so I'll ask you the same thing, but what Abby said?
Exactly what Abby said. I agree with you.
I figured
100%.
Okay. So all right, let's turn our attention to Super Mario Brothers, just finally released in the theaters. I know everyone was highly anticipating this. Panda, have you seen it yet, or are you going to see it?
I have not seen it, and when it first came out, I will tell you, I was like a big meh.
Yeah.
You know, I play the games, I know the music and stuff, but now I am reading the reviews from my friends, and I mean, people that I just didn't think would enjoy it. Everybody loves it. Like it's a thing now. So I guess I got to go see it. Everybody loves it. There's some magic on the screen apparently that I didn't expect.
Do we see a franchise out of this, Joey? Is it going to be like Super Mario 1, 2, 3, 4?
This is the movie industry. So if it makes money, there's going to be another one, whether they like it or not. It's just, that's kind of how it works, you know? So there's definitely going to be a sequel, at least I think, especially with the early reports that I've seen, the amount of money that's already coming in.
It's already making a ton.
And that's what I'm saying. And it is, listen, this is still Mario. I mean, most of us here, we've all grown up on Mario. Everybody knows it. The property itself is crazy. Everybody knows Nintendo. And, you know, I know there's been a lot of controversy this week that I've seen where people are kind of hitting on Chris Pratt and stuff and hitting on Seth Rogen because, you know, they didn't do the voice and all that other stuff. And I know Rogen was like, I don't do voices, but, you know, I haven't seen it yet. I'm definitely going to see it just because it's what I grew up on my childhood. I got to see it, especially now with the CGI technology. It's good to where the movie looks like it does. It looks like you're playing the video game. I mean, we've all grown up on this stuff. So there's no question there's going to be a sequel to this because anything that makes money, even if the franchise, I mean, how many Fast Furious movies have we seen now?
I think 47 is coming. 47 is coming out.
As long as
the
people,
Toretto family.
It's all about that family, but it's more about the money. So
yes,
that's what I think.
You know, I can't tell you what, I can't blame Rogen and Pratt for not doing the voice. That's not their fault. Whoever cast them to do it should. If you want to blame somebody for not doing the voice, blame who cast them. They're actors. They're doing it how they want to do it.
You also have a producer and a director that could say.
That's what I'm saying. So that's where you blame whoever put them in those roles. Blame them for not doing the voice. They could have found someone that either could have did the voice, or they could have said you got to do the voice, and then they do it or don't do it. But you can't blame them for taking a job where they're playing such iconic roles.
I got to see it first before I would decide would I rather them done it than not. I got to see it because I mean it's not like Mario does a whole lot of talking in the games, other than the couple little things where the little whoops and all this stuff.
Let's go.
There you go. And that's pretty much what you're gonna get. So I can understand that. And it's not like, I mean, Bowser I've heard talk in some of the games, but it's kind of like that raspy growl voice. So I don't know. I got to see it before I see if it would bother me. I don't know. But you're right.
Who's playing Bowser's voice?
It's
do we know who's
Isn't it Jack Black?
Is that who he's playing?
Right.
I know Jack Black's in it. I just sure who's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
So I don't know. Like it's like I kind of agree with you, Joey. I don't know if it's the voice would bother me until I see it, and I'm like, wow, that's just doesn't match up.
Right.
It could, it might not. I have no idea. I guess until I see it. But they're expecting this movie to make $141 million over the 5-day box office. Which we made a big deal out of. What was the movie that came out last week that the Dungeons and Dragons made like 40, and we were saying how that was so great. This is like squashing that. It's like
And that's you're going way back with that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, let's also think Stranger Things, because I think Stranger Things gave it Dungeons and Dragons a boost too. I mean, it became super popular again.
Yes,
just on Stranger Things alone. But Abby, are you gonna go see this film?
Absolutely not.
Because there's no jets in it.
Well,
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, to be honest, I really don't like animated films, period. Like, I am surprised I even like Finding Nemo and
you're hitting John in the heart.
Yeah, and I don't even, to be honest,
she does like some though, so we're okay.
So even like animated shows, I don't really like that. Like, a lot of people love like Family Guy, could care less about it. But it's funny, the one animated show I do like is Bob's Burgers. But
I love it.
Love it.
I mean, if my friend told me, hey, I want to go and I want to bring the kids, I'm like, I would happily go and watch it. I think there's like a good amount of nostalgia for me growing up in like the 90s and playing it. But otherwise, and I mean, the cast is stacked. I didn't realize that. So, I mean, that's a little enticing, but I mean, no, let's just be honest. It's not my thing. I'm not saying it's not a good movie because the reviews look great. People love it. I mean, all the actual critics, they're all like the same old stuff. But as far as what I know, I feel like it was like bringing grown men to tears. Like, Twitter was going off about it. I'm like, oh gosh, it's not like all that great. But what I did find funny this week is I didn't realize all the drama that happened when Chris Pratt was casted, like, and all of his stuff. And I'm like, I love him. So I'm like, I was just like, even though the voice thing was such a big issue, and then his background with the things that he said, and I'm like, you're really making this a thing, and it's not. Stop.
I agree. I love Chris Pratt. I know he's had some controversies over the past few years. I try to separate that from the actor enjoying his art, you know. But let's also say this: there's not been a better Chris Pratt role than his original role at Parks and Rec. That's the best Chris Pratt.
Oh yes! Oh my God, the best! Oh, I love that show. It's funny because I think a couple people, what is it, Parks and Rec, or I think it's like The Office in comparison. And I'm a Parks and Rec girl. I could care less about The Office. I've watched it, you know what I mean, but it's not one of those shows that people put on and consistently watch over and over. I've watched like Parks and Rec like 3 times.
I think it's the oversaturation of The Office. You can't turn on the TV without finding it on some channel.
I can't go on Instagram without it. Like, it's always a meme.
Every meme is about that show. So
So with this obviously it's not going to out of the park. Do we expect to hit the 140? Like, Joey, you think it's going to hit the 140, or do you think it might even exceed it or fall under?
It'll probably exceed it. As long as, like I said, as long as as it's going now, and as long as you keep getting word of mouth, and then social media and everything keeps driving that, you're gonna continue to have people go and pay to see it. So I think it's gonna exceed it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing
people that
family
didn't have an interest in seeing it. All of a sudden now they have to go. And apparently the music is a big thing. Like, I mean, apparently they play the, dun 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 dun, and everybody has to see it. But I guess that is the nostalgia of it. But yeah, I see it breaking that estimate.
You know what it is? It's a type of movie that you can see, even if it's bad, still does a lot of money, because you're going to have the kids that want to see it today. The kids today want to see it. They didn't grow up with Super Mario, but it's an animated film, and they want to go see that next big animated film. So you have the parents that don't really care about it, that didn't grow up as gamers, that want to have to take their kids now to see it. So that's double the money right there. And then you can have all the grown-ups that grew up playing Mario, and whether it's they have kids of their own that they want to introduce Mario to, or they just want to relive, hey, this was my 80s right here, that 80s and 90s. Right. Let's go watch Mario. And so you're pulling from so many different sources of income for this film. Does it lead to some other films now maybe getting that, maybe a little Legend of Zelda? Like, that would be a great series. What do we think this game?
Because video games don't tend to not do too well as far as movies. So if this does really well, could other companies start looking at properties for that? It's quite possible, especially. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Joe. Wasn't there a Zelda series in the works at Netflix that got canceled? I think there was. I think there was a Zelda
Was it
series.
Animated or live action? Because that should be a live action.
I want to say animated, but I don't know.
Even Microsoft was looking at, for the longest, Gears of War. They were talking about doing that. I know they just recently did Halo which was not.
That was not good. I think The Rock was in that too.
It could have been a lot better. But yeah, you're looking at Gears of War. So some of these are there. Also the big thing with these movies, especially for the adults, the nostalgia. How many, and I haven't watched because I don't want to find out myself, how many Easter eggs do they put in these things that harken back to the game itself, or stuff that would kind of pay homage to the series itself and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty much with anything. You want to see Easter eggs. Easter eggs to me are, at least for me, those are cool, real thing, cool things to catch in movies and games and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Look at Last of Us as far as a video game.
And there's a lot of people who don't even realize Last of Us. I remember my wife didn't even realize it was a video game. She just thought it was a new show. A lot of people didn't even realize. But like Call of Duty is, I think, one that I'm surprised there hasn't been any kind of movie series. You could do a whole movie series. Every time the game comes out, you come up with another movie.
Well, the problem with Call of Duty, you're talking it's special ops. I mean, how many movies have we seen with that? I mean,
but you can do it. You could do it. But that's what I'm saying. We've done so many movies already. Why not do a series and just call it Call of Duty at that point?
Oh, no, I agree. You slap the name on it and make it some spec op movies, and you're good. Black Hawk Down, and it's actually Call of Duty. You're good.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that's exactly.
Pretty much it.
So you know what? I think we let's we're gonna go a little early to this next segment because I want to give him a couple minutes because it's his first day here, guys. We're gonna bring on a friend in a minute. He's gonna be with us every Friday. He's gonna pretty much tell you what to look out for this weekend, every weekend, in the world of sports or entertainment. He's gonna have a rating system. He's gonna tell you what you can't miss as a sports fan. But I also want to give a chance to just explain who he is to me because he's someone that has been like an older brother to me. Joey, I know feels the same way about this man. He's been, when we first came to YouTube, doing stuff on YouTube with Disney, he really took care of us, and he a lot of points. Sometimes I followed his advice. Sometimes I did it like a bad younger brother. Sometimes I didn't, and I regret sometimes when I didn't. Yeah. But he's someone that means a lot to me and Joey. So when we did this, I wanted to make sure we had a segment that we could bring him on and give him a chance to talk. The passion for Disney and sports with this man is like unreal. And some of the sports knowledge is fantastic. What's Poppin Pete is the name of the segment. And let's bring him in.
Hey everybody. Good afternoon. Hello. Nice to meet you. Welcome. Good to see you. And Panda looking sharp as usual in that shirt. Joey, when I was younger, I had a He-Man action figure. You laugh about the Ravens again, I'm going to snap your arms like I did with that doll. Make it clear. Gene, see you?
Oh, you saw that, huh?
We got a little echo, but I apologize about that, Pete. But I do look for the Ravens now, partly because of you. I do tend to hope they're doing well as long as they don't affect my Jets. So hopefully they get it together and figure out the quarterback situation. So we're bringing you on. I feel like we could do a cool segment where we bring you on every Friday. You let everybody know what to see, what's the can't miss thing of the weekend. So I figured let's start. What do we got, Pete?
Well, I'm excited. You're looking at first things first. You got two things going on with the weekend sports coming up. You got the NBA coming to an end. You got the NHL coming to an end. NBA playoffs start around April 15th. NHL is going to start around the 17th. I'm going to jump in, just touch NHL for a second. What's happening, what's hot is who's in, who's not right now with the NHL. You're looking at Boston, Toronto, Tampa in the Eastern, Carolina, New Jersey, New York already in, waiting on the others to join. Western, Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, Vegas, Edmonton, and LA already in. Obviously, your outsiders looking on trying to get in the door. Your Islanders, I know there might be an Islanders fan in here too. You're looking at Florida, you're looking at Pittsburgh, Buffalo outside, maybe in. Wait to see who's going to be. Seattle, Winnipeg, Calgary, and Nashville. Preds still in a chance there. I'm telling you, if you're looking for somebody to lay some money on as the playoffs come up, one guaranteed general money looks like Boston is the hot one. Out in the East, of course, in the West, it looks like it's Vegas right now. What I would say is big money, positive money, somebody who's hot. Two teams to look at. Throw some money. It's a Blue Crab special, Gene. I'm ranking them.
There we go.
Blue Crab special. 4 hot Maryland Blue Crabs right now. Look out for the Rangers in the East. They're marking it right now. They're hitting. They're scoring points. Their defense has been smooth. And watch out for Edmonton in the West. All of a sudden, McDavid's got the boys playing. They're flying and they're looking. Their speed is unreal. Watch out for them as they go through. But more to come as we get these playoffs finalized in the next couple of weeks. I'm real excited. I know we got some Jets fans here, but I'm sorry the Jets are not playing this weekend. But the XFL is playing this weekend. Now, it's not what the NFL is. Let's be honest. We all know that. But the key factor is here, the XFL and the USFL give us year-round football. And for somebody like Abby, who I can tell knows her football, having year-round football to watch is still a good thing. I go outside and watch Joey play against Gene in my backyard if somebody would call it professional, but they probably won't. Let's get to the bottom line of this weekend. Here's the thing. If you're looking to lay numbers, hot crab numbers over on the totals. 3 out of the 4 games have gone over almost every weekend. It's just looking at the matchups against the two, play the higher ranking teams to go up and over the total. Blue Crab, 4 crab special this weekend. The Battlehawks at home -7 against Vegas. Vegas is atrocious. I don't know what's going on. Those guys, they couldn't, if they put a game together in my backyard playing each other, the one single team, Vegas would lose. They're that bad. Take the Battlehawks covering the 7. The other one to watch out for, it's Orlando. I got the Panda on here. I got to go love to Orlando. They've been in every game. Arlington and Dallas. Who likes Dallas? Nobody likes Dallas. Everybody yelling, hating the Cowboys. Why not go right against Arlington? Take Orlando at home, 3.5 crabs over the total, and Orlando to cover the 1.5. All good games this weekend. Again, we know what it is. It's not the quality of the NFL, but they've done a great job marketing themselves and getting them out there. When you got The Rock behind you, somebody's going to come in and sing Moana at some point. Baseball, you guys are going to talk baseball later on and everything that's happening. There's 2 great series to look at this weekend, and I'm fired up. The Yankees are coming to Baltimore. They're not the same old Orioles that they've always been. They've turned things around a little bit. They are competitive. Do I think they win the series? No, but I think it's extremely competitive. I think it's a lot of one-run games. I've got that at 4. Blue Crabs up. Got to go over there on the series. Take the Yankees to win the series, but watch Baltimore slipping out one of those games this weekend. But the best game has already started last night. If you missed the ending of the Padres and Braves games last night, you missed everything. Those two went at it back and forth. Home runs, doubles, triples, arguments, umpires screaming. I even think the beer guy got into it and threw something on the field. I can't prove it. I'm just holding accountable. Watch the rest of that series this weekend. My money is on the Braves taking 2 out of 3. They've already taken 1. You got 2 more to go. Split them up. Look at your pitching matchups. 3 crabs out on that one, but definitely that's the hot action this weekend. More basketball. Keep an eye out on the NBA. They're finishing out their league. I'll pop more on those next week as we get into it. And we're only 3 weeks out from the draft.
Yes.
I think, I'm pretty sure I just heard the Jets. Who are they taking? Namath? Got it. They're taking Namath. It's going to be fantastic. The crowd is excited. They can't wait for Namath to play. Yes. They can't wait for Namath to get back in the Jets uniform. It's going to be popping.
He'd be better than Zach, even at this age. You know, Pete likes to tease me because I last year I said how he drafted so many future Hall of Famers on our team, and I think Abby can agree. Right? Abby, did we not draft about 4 or 5 future Hall of Famers last year?
Oh, definitely.
So I know, and guys, Pete does a great job every week during football season, especially. He does games every sport, but when he does his football games, he covers every major football game throughout the season. He's got a Thursday night show. So guys, when you get to check, all his information to be in the credits of the show and the summary of the episode. But make sure you go check him out on Thursday nights. I know you missed this week, but you typically almost on every Thursday night a football show. What's coming up that week, and he does it all year, not just during football season. Me and Joe, you'll find me and Joey on there quite often too. We do that show a lot, and he's going to have a ton of draft coverage this week. Not this week. I'm sorry. For the draft, he's actually going to be covering the draft. I know. I'm hoping to be a part of that as well.
In fact, I'm going to throw out an open invitation because if Abby's around and she wants to come on and do some draft stuff with us, she's more than welcome. I need an intelligence jet person on there. I don't have one right now. That's the problem.
The Jets fans are just like out of control, insane. They are not rational people.
You know what it is too? With us Jet fans, we can't handle anything good. We get so crazy when something good happens because it happens so rarely that we just go nuts when it finally happens for us.
That's why the thought of Aaron Rodgers is just like, oh my God.
Yep. I'll be honest. I didn't want Aaron Rodgers. I wanted Derek Carr just because I wanted to have a quarterback that would be here for a few years, not just one and then hold us hostage again next year. But we talked about it earlier, Pete. We still got a few minutes for you segment. What do you think? Do we think it's definitely going to happen, right? Do we think OBJ comes with him?
OBJ's not coming with him.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. OBJ's not coming with him.
So where does OBJ end up then?
I still think OBJ is going to find a way to end up either in Dallas, because I still think Jerry Jones is waiting to see what the final offer is going to be to his agent and comes in over top of it because he still believes Jerry Jones is delusional. Jerry Jones still believes that OBJ could be the thing to put him over the top. How about having your quarterback hit a higher percentage of completion? That would get your quarterback over the top. I just don't think OBJ is going to set. I mean, I know they kind of talked about wanting to play together, but I think Rodgers can do it with what you've got there. You've got that. You've got it right there. If getting Rodgers puts you guys as the team to beat in that division, flat out.
Yes.
Flat out. You got it. You just need a quarterback with consistency, and you are the team to beat in that division.
Yeah, which is weird because you look at the Bills are so stacked. If you look at this year, I think they said if we had a quarterback that if we had an offense that averaged the average points scored, we would have won like 4 more games.
Yes.
We would have
won that division.
And we would have won that division. So yeah, but I still think there's enough of a draw of OBJ wanting to play with Rodgers that OBJ, if it's close, I think he comes to the Jets.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's exactly what Abby said. The guy hadn't played in 2 years. He sneezed yesterday and broke an arm, I think. I don't know what's up with that guy. Come on. The guy, he's a challenge. I don't think you need him to get over that level.
Oh, yeah, we don't need him. Would he be a good addition? Yes, but he's not needed.
I think he's going to take away from young players that don't need a distraction of a guy who can be a true challenge as a player.
I think he's kind of grown up a little bit for that. At least I'm hoping he has. But we do need another receiver. I'm not happy with the receiving core we have. Like I mean, no, doing wrong. I shouldn't say that. I think Lazard's fantastic. I love Garrett Wilson. I mean, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame in about 15 years, 20 years. And I think Nicole Hardman's good, but I do think we are still lacking a receiver. I don't think those could be the 3 that you go to war with every Sunday. I think you need one more guy. Do we draft a guy? I don't want to waste a draft pick on a receiver. We can go out and get OBJ to fill in for a little bit.
I like your idea of your secondary, Gene. It would make you a great secondary if you grab that corner. But I still think where you guys end up going is this year. I still think you go for one of the top line receivers to give yourself. You've already got a great running back who's young. You now have an entire wide receiver core that's young. Next year, you go out and you draft your quarterback. You have Rodgers, hopefully for 2 years. He acts as a mentor for 1. You got your quarterback. You got a team for the next 10, 12 years. That's where it's at. Offense is where that league's at. Everybody knows. Yeah. Offense is where that league's at. Even my dog's here. He heard me talking about the Jets. He came in here. I think he got sick. Are you okay? What happened here?
Yeah, exactly.
And my dog's snoring. So he's like, boo.
and the biggest thing here is the most important thing we should be asking is, John, where do we get that shirt that's fantastic?
I said that. I told him.
This is Roosevelt's expensive shirts, but they got my size, so they're getting my money.
Well, I like them too. That's not Steamboat Willie, obviously. It is. It is the full Steamboat. What was the other one? There was another one I looked at on the hashtag. Not a sponsor, but God, they are a good shirt company.
VP, a friend of ours, VP, always has a Roosevelt shirt on too. So he always got some really cool shirts. So me and Joey got to hang out with him recently in the park. Actually,
got to hang out. Let me get something straight. Joey goes to the park and sees people.
Here we go.
You got to pay him. His quote is pretty high, Pete, but I made the quote. He came out to Disney and hung out.
He's been hammering me since I have not. I didn't go when he went.
It's very simple truth. It's very simple truth. Panda, let me explain something. When I said, "Hey, John, I want to see you down the park," where did I see John? Hugging John right in front of the castle, saying hello to him. It's very simple. I tell Joey I want to see him. He says, "Guys with one hands, I don't go meet him." That's what he said.
Wow.
Joey, that's not right, Joey.
You're going to get me hate. And by the way, Joey. I have a picture in front of Haunted Mansion with you, so please stop.
I was superimposed.
Yeah, exactly. He wants to ignore that part. So it's giving me a hard time. I would never say something like that to him. You're going to get me a lot of hate, Pete. People are going to start talking about me like I'm going after people.
Look at the shirt you're wearing. You deserve it. Anyway, back to you, Jim.
Oh, I agree. I agree. That Boston Red Sox shirt is kind of garbage. It's a little trash. I'm just saying. I would burn that if I was you.
No. So. This is nice. This is from spring training.
Is that a Red Sox hat too?
It is. Well, I wouldn't be wearing another team with this, and just wouldn't.
I mean, I do. I'll wear a Jet jersey, and I always have my Warriors hat, which I haven't worn all week. But
yeah,
I'll put in a call to his wife. We'll fix that for next week.
There we go. Thank you. And Sammy will bust him on that too. So Joey produces the show.
I should just wore 49er stuff today.
Tell them to mind their business. Tell them to mind their business.
Hey, you
Stay
saw
out of our affairs.
You laughed about the Ravens. You saw my text. Tell him what my text said to you.
Yeah, he said, "You'll pay for laughing at that." He doesn't miss anything, man. Even when you don't think he's watching, he's watching.
I appreciate coming on here and being an opportunity to do this segment with you. I know you got a great guest coming up here at 1:00, and I'm going to drop. But I'm telling you, these are the play actions this week that are hot. If you're looking for things to make a little bit of money, that's where it's at. You got the amazing Abby in here who knows more about Gene, about the Jets, so I'll take it. And a legend like Panda. Joey, he's hanging out. All right, I will see you next week. It's popping. Stay with them, guys. Give us some
Pete,
love.
I got more Funkos to send to your son. I'll talk to you soon.
I'm coming down there soon. We'll talk.
Good to see you, Pete.
Peace.
Love you. Love
Bye.
you. Such a good guy.
He's one of the best guys. Like I said,
What a character.
He's a character, boy. You don't even know.
I've been talking to Abby about Abby. He does a fun show on Thursday nights with football. I was like, I would love to introduce you to him so you can get on and do that show with him every once in a while. He took like a rotating cast, so it wouldn't be like we do all the time. It's like,
that's the one you had brought up.
Yeah.
And then when you put up the arm, I was like, oh my God.
And that's he loves to get every once in a while on that. And I think one of the best things too is he will make his own jokes about it. Like he's honestly one of the best people. I think Joey would attest. One of the best people we've met working with YouTube and doing some Disney stuff. And he's been nothing short of like an older brother to us as far as being able to like help guide us. And sometimes we don't take his advice because sometimes we're dumb. Like we sometimes play the idiot little brother that still causes our own mess. But he's always been there for us 100% of the way. And so honored that he could actually be part of this with us. So, much respect to Pete. No one's better than him. He's one of the top guys we know. So, so we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, I know we're going to have Brian Volk-Weiss with us shortly, but let's take that commercial break real quick. Full commercial break. All right, Patty? And then we'll be back and Brian will be with us shortly.
Craving your favorite.
Happiness is addictive. Passionate about spreading laughter and creating smiles worldwide. Happiness is addictive. Brings our global community together through humor, optimism, cheer, hopefulness, and merriment. Happiness is addictive. Happiness is addictive.
Craving your
All right. Bring us back. There we go. Poorly produced. Bring us back. For some reason, we'll have to speak to Main Street Treat Company. They have a fantastic product, but for some reason, their commercial is not working. I thought for sure it was Patty screwing up. So I said, Patty, let me try it. Let me fix this.
Patty is redeemed.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. He's my mom's favorite. He's my mom's favorite. I don't know why, because I feel like I'm a better son, but he's mom's favorite. Probably my father's favorite too.
I didn't realize that was your brother.
Yeah, that's my little brother. Yeah, it's my brothers.
Right.
I don't like to admit it a lot of the time, but because he screws up commercials, but he is my brother. And
you a Jets fan?
He's I think he just watches football. I don't really think he has a specific team. Like he's just, I don't know.
As long as he's not a Giants fan, it's fine.
Oh yeah. Oh, I actually dislike the Giants more than I dislike the Patriots.
So I know we have this whole talk.
Did we have this talk? Yeah, because I got to live with Giant fans when they win. I don't got to live around Patriot fans to throw it in my face. But yeah, so you know what? Let's. I believe our guest is here. So Patty, is he here? I can see you. Just shake head. Yes. All right. So you know what? Let's bring him on out. Brian Volk-Weiss. Brian.
Hello.
Hey,
How
Brian.
you doing?
What's going on, everybody?
Love having a former New Yorker. I've had you on
Former?
different shows.
What?
my bad.
Oh my God! Take thy beak from out thy heart.
My
Wow.
bad.
Killing me here. Holy
Once,
cow!
once the New Yorker, always the New Yorker. There we go.
What a way to start a Zoom or
I was saying this for
I
reasons,
am a New
but I love him.
Yorker. I am a New Yorker. I am a New Yorker. I am
There we
not a
go.
Californian.
I apologize. I wasn't
Let me
thinking when I spoke.
assure you. I'll get my wife. She'll vouch for me.
I've interviewed you a few times, and I always, like I said, even when I wasn't living in New York, one time I interviewed you, and it was like just nice hearing that old New York voice too, because you could tell you're from New York. So
Even though you were talking about one of my least favorite topics when I got on sports,
Oh.
I did enjoy hearing your accent. So
thank you.
Nothing like a New York accent, though I am a bit biased.
Coffee, straw,
Water.
dog, take a walk.
Water.
You know,
Water.
I know we're obviously off topic, but I went to college in Iowa. I will never forget. My mom called me once, and my roommate from Chicago picked up. Was like, "Oh, hello, sorry, Miss Volk-Weiss. Hold on, here's Brian." Talked to my mom, hung up, and my roommate goes, "Dude, does she always talk like that?" And I'm like what? Like,
It's normal.
was she like doing an SNL parody? I'm like, no, we actually talk like that. That's like she's not a parody. It's not a stereotype. That's how we sound.
I love
That's
it. I love it.
hilarious.
That's
So
for you,
And
Pat.
from Long Island, it's worse.
yeah.
We're on-
So-
Staten Island, that's where you lose me.
But so Brian, we had you on. We were talking about behind the attractions, which I know Panda's a huge fan of. It's a great series.
Oh.
It was phenomenal.
Thank
But now you got Icons Unearthed, where you're talking about a whole bunch of different things. I mean, the Marvel one is. I said it before, and let me say it again. You do such a great way of taking a documentary and making it so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, they should hire you to do like cover like school subjects too, because you do such a great job of making stuff that's, when you think documentary, oh, okay, well, how fun, you make them fun, you make them funny. The editing that you guys do where you switch from scene to scene, and just the like everything to me is fantastic. And this, you got a bunch of them, and I think Vice just picked it up for like another 6 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that.
Thank
you.
Congrats.
So before we even talk about the series itself, where did the idea for the series come from? Like, were you approached? Was it your idea? Like, what was the genesis of it?
It's funny, as always in my life, everything goes back to Star Wars. Everybody from Netflix to the public wanted us to do Star Wars. And I'm like, I can't do Star Wars in an hour. Like, I can't even do one of the movies. Well, maybe The Last Jedi. But sorry, too soon? Too soon? But I'm like, I can't even do A New Hope in 1 hour.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to do Star Wars as a movie that made us, but I wanted to do Star Wars. So basically the whole premise of Icons Unearthed was, and it's something that I learned from Toys That Made Us, there are so many things that we all know what they are. They're in our face. Like my wife, she doesn't know anything about Transformers, nothing. But she can on site say, that's Optimus Prime, that's Bumblebee,
Yep.
that's Megatron. So I always found that really fascinating. Like, I can recognize Bridgerton. I've never seen Bridgerton. So it's like, how does that happen? And that was the inspiration. It was, how do I do Star Wars in a meaningful way? And how do I take these things that everybody knows what they are and do a deep dive that basically says, you may know what Fast and Furious is. You may have seen every single one of the movies in the theaters, but you don't know what you're watching. You don't know how it came about. You don't understand why it works. So that was the premise, and that's what I sold.
And to speak on the Marvel one, because the Marvel one I watched most recently. In fact, I think it's still mid-series or mid-season for that one.
Yeah. 2 more.
It's because Tuesday nights on Vice, I believe. It was you delved into like how even the beginning of how it even started as a comic and where it changed and where it got into TV, and not just TV, but then into films. You kind of cover it right from the beginning, and all the trials and tribulations that Stan Lee had to go through to get it. And there was a lot of losses, and people don't realize, because Marvel like now is so like out of this world huge. Marvel went through a lot of stuff where it had to basically find itself again, and you do a great job of covering it in this, and still making it not even like you start to feel bad. It's like so positive, because you talk about all the triumphs that they've had, even when they've had these situations where it came off. And I thought the way you guys handled it, again, this might be my favorite series that you guys done now, is these Icons, Icon series.
Thank you, man.
You have the toys that made us, the movies that made all those series. I mean, I don't think people realize how much work you've done, and it's just, you make, like I said, these documentaries you do are just. They're about fun subjects, and you do them so fun. I just love it, man. I just love it.
This is my favorite podcast ever. Please continue.
Well, and to kind of echo Gene, like when I was watching Icons Unearthed the Marvel, I'm not a huge Marvel fan at all. Like I've watched the movies, but I don't go in the nitty gritty. I don't know characters like that. But I'm a history minor. And that's what drew me in, going through like the history of how they got started. And I'm like, I didn't realize Iron Man was that transforming for the franchise. So that's what I appreciated. It made it fun too. And then with the visuals kind of flashing back, it kind of made a good visualization for me.
Yeah, I'm sort of like you. And it's like, it's funny. People are always shocked when I say this, but like when I saw the first Thor, that's how I learned who Thor was.
Wow.
When I saw Iron Man, that's how I learned who Iron Man was. Mm-hmm. The only superhero I'm passionate about is Batman. Like there is literally no other superhero. Like I have a Batman section in my toy collection. Like I don't have that for any other superhero. Like I'll have a couple, like I love Thor now. I love She-Hulk. Like, so I have a bunch of that, but Batman's the only one I'm like crazy about, like the way I am with Star Wars and Star Trek. But to your point, when we decided to do Marvel, I was like, what we always try to do is find what I like to call the spinal column of the subject we're covering. So I really had to do a lot of research. Like Star Wars, I had to do 0.0 research. Like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, we still did tons of research, but like I personally could just be like, oh, we should mention that. We should make sure we interview this person. But it was funny. I'm sitting there doing, we're talking about probably well over 1,000 pages of reading, watching all the movies, watching DVD extras, really immersing myself into Marvel, which I had to do. And it was funny. The thing where I'm like, that's it. This is the spinal column of our season is, and I don't know how far you've gotten, so I hope this is not a spoiler. This is one of those things where I'm going to say it and you'll be like, at first you'll be like, yeah, but then it sinks in and you're like, whoa, that's crazy. When they were shooting Avengers, the second week of shooting Avengers, Thor premiered. No, sorry. Captain America premiered. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks before they wrapped, Thor premiered.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they're making this gigantic $250 million budgeted film practically with all these characters, and they didn't even know if the movies would work. Mm-hmm. Like that's 2/5 of the characters on the poster. Haven't come out yet. What if Thor had bombed? Right. What if Captain America had bombed? What if they both had bombed?
That's a lot. That's a lot of guts, man. It's a lot of faith. Yeah.
I'm not like other than like Boeing betting the company on the 747, like that kind of shit. Like I've never heard of a risk in the history of Hollywood. What if Thor bombed and the main criticism of Thor was how bad the actor was? You're stuck. He spent $250 million, and he's I would argue, other than Iron Man, he's the biggest character in the movie.
And they hit on so many main characters of all these movies, on every one of them. Which you're right, if they mess up on one of them, it just ruins the whole arc, like completely.
Yeah, but they were making the movie. It's not like the movie bombed and they just, all right, let's chill and not make more.
Right.
Yeah.
They're already making the more.
They're already in the middle of it.
So that's when I was like, I get it. These people are the least risk adverse in history. And that's what we're trying to do here. So that's what we tried to do. And that's hopefully if we got it right, we got it right. Like we picked the right thing to make the subtext, to use a fancy word, of the season.
Yeah.
Brian, okay.
No, go ahead, Panda.
As a Disney nut, I found Behind the Attraction amazing. I was going to ask you how you went about choosing which attractions to go with. Was it a fan base thing? But before that, for this, I had to go see these icons on Earth. I wanted to see what it was, and I thought I was going to skim through it. I thought I was going to skip around and say, okay, I got a feel of it. Got sucked in. I watched 3 episodes of Star Wars.
Thanks, man.
There's something about the way, I don't know if it's you specifically or the team that goes about these documentaries. They move. You don't have time to get bored because other people have covered the same subject matter, like especially Star Wars. And it just, I don't know, you lose me somewhere. With yours, I'm not lost. It's fantastic stuff. And Behind the Attraction, I hope there's more of them coming because I love that.
So first of all, thank you. To answer your question, I'm a part of a team, and I don't mean that as a cliche. Like I'm a part of a team. So I mean, I add value, they all add value, and it goes in a pot. And then it sounds like you like what we cooked up. So thank you. As cheesy as that sounded in retrospect, but we have certain philosophies. Again, to use a $10 word, we basically have what I call rules. And they come from all different places. One of the rules, and by the way, a lot of the rules come from things that we learned on Toys That Made Us. So Toys That Made Us was basically the great grandparents of everything we're doing now. And we learned literally on the Star Wars episode of Toys That Made Us some pretty important rules. To give you a couple examples, we turned in a 3-hour cut of Star Wars. And I assumed it would be cut down to 2 hours. And when I first spoke to the executive on our first notes call, he was like, his name's Nat. He's like, we're not allowed to give last names because then people call these people morning, noon, and night. But Nat, he's British. You'll understand in a minute why I'm telling that. But I'll never forget, Nat was like, Brian, this is wonderful. This was so good. Thank you for sending this cut. All we got to do is get it under an hour. And I'm like, under an hour? What are you talking about? I honestly, Nat, I know I have to cut it down. Don't get me wrong, but I can't get this under 2 hours. I got to be honest with you. What would you even recommend that we cut? And this, he goes, I don't know, Brian. Do you really need a 6-minute pod on Vlix? Do any of you know who Vlix is?
I don't.
So Vlix was like the 11th lead on Star Wars droids. And he's pretty famous within my crazy head famous. His toy was made by Kenner after the show. By the time the toy was ready to ship, the show had been canceled. And Lucasfilm told Kenner to destroy them. Kenner, that had spent $50,000 on the molds in the early 80s, which would probably be $200 now, being a little sneaky, shipped the toys to Brazil and got caught. So they got pulled off the shelves, and then there was a warehouse fire. Everybody knows about Boba Fett. This is the second most valuable Star Wars figure ever made. And unlike Boba Fett with the rocket launcher thing, this actually did go into production. We spent 6 minutes talking about this. So, and what he said was, and this was one of the rules we follow, he goes, you need to make a show. Well, he goes, let me ask you something. Does your wife like Star Wars? And I go, not at all. And he goes, great. You need to make an episode where your wife can watch it with you and doesn't keep getting up to make tea. That's why I had to tell you he was British. So
That makes sense.
And every time I watch cuts after that, for every single show we make, I'm like, is someone going to want to get up and make tea? We want every single thing we include to appeal to the crazy fan and to the civilian, for lack of a better word.
Mhm.
That was one of the things we learned. Another thing, and so a lot of this comes from Netflix, by the way, and stuff they taught us.
Okay.
Like, another thing they taught us was like, when we originally pitched Toys That Made Us, it was a show that maybe in a population of 330 million Americans, maybe 100,000 people would have liked. And that's a great way not to get a second season.
True.
They told us, hey, you need to make this show because for us, the perfect show is that 70s show. And the reason it's perfect is because it takes place in the 70s, we get older people. But because the cast is so young and good looking, we get younger people. So we get everybody.
Yeah.
And the demo tape that we had to make to get the green light took that into account. So that's why we do these huge things. And we're not, people are always like, you got to do an episode of, movies that made us on Dune, David Lynch's Dune. And I'm like, we can't spend all the money to do it right on a movie that bombed and no one gives a shit about.
Yeah.
The kind of things we follow.
Okay, Brian, sorry, I was going to ask real quick, and this is going back to like the Toys That Made Us, movies that made us in this series, which I'm a huge fan, by the way. I love that you did this. It kind of tugs on my childhood heartstrings to see this type of stuff. I love it because growing up, it just brings back so many fond memories. So thank you for making these things, which is, I think is great. My question is, when it comes to these, especially the Toys That Made Us and such, when you guys got to go back, and I know you mentioned you had a team, when you guys go back and you're talking to, I guess, older executives and they're trying to find molds and stuff, is it difficult for you guys to dig up the information for this stuff? Are people willing to talk about this stuff? Does it become difficult to get into that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's such a great question. And it's one of the most interesting things. It's not just that we're making shows like this, we're making a lot of them at the same time. So what that does is it allows us to see patterns that if we were only making one movie every 2 years, we would not be able to see. So, I mean, the answer to your question, the short answer, and then I'll give you an example, is it is all over the map. The people you would, like, I'll give you an example. It was reasonably easy to get Sigourney Weaver for the Aliens episode of Movies That Made Us.
Okay.
Like, sometimes we can't get the fucking script supervisor. Like we'll be like talking to someone who hasn't worked in show business in 30 years, like has never done an interview in their life. You think they'd be so excited to talk about their career.
Right.
And they don't want to talk to us for whatever reason. Then you have Sigourney Weaver, who's been talking about aliens for almost half a century.
Yeah.
And she's still willing to talk about it with us and finds new stuff to talk about. So that's the first thing as it relates to bookings.
Okay.
As it relates to the actual interview, there are times where I'm doing interviews where I'm like, were you trained by the CIA on how to withstand interrogations? Like, answer the fucking question, or at least tell us you're not going to answer it. Like, what are you doing? And then there's other times, and this is much more common, where I never do this, by the way, but like I literally want to say to the person talking, like, you see this black square next to me? You know it's recording everything you're saying and doing, right? Like, what the fuck are you, like, this could ruin your career.
Oh, this is like no filter.
Like, that's illegal. Like, what are you talking about? And I'll give you a less extreme example, but like when Icons Unearthed Star Wars was greenlit, I would have bet you anything I owned that the odds of getting Harrison Ford were higher than Marsha Lucas. Marsha Lucas had never done an interview, ever on camera. She'd done one interview total, ever. So
wow,
we got her. By the way, we almost got Harrison Ford. We almost got
really.
him. We almost got him. We had the deal done. Everything was done. Shockingly cheap, by the way.
Really?
Like shocking, like to the point where like I'd be like at a red light and I'd be like, what does he care about this amount of money for? Like interrupting a Sunday to make an extra $4. Like, I mean, it was literally like, why would he care about this amount of money? Anyway, but you know, we're sitting there. We got Marsha, 5.5-hour interview.
Wow.
And there was nothing off topic. Like nothing.
She was fantastic.
Yeah, she was great.
Yeah.
Well, we're putting out a DVD of the season. We're putting her entire interview on it. Like literally the whole thing. We have an extra disc just for that.
Oh, wow.
You got to see what's not in the show. Like,
I'm sure.
I just want to be very clear with you. I am not in salesman mode right now. I am talking to you as like a Star Wars guy. Like, you would not believe what we were not able to include. Like, it was almost like negligent, but we only had, you know, a certain amount of time to make the show. But there was nothing. I would ask her like a pretty easy question. And then she's like talking about like some pretty intimate shit with George. Hey, Marsha. All right. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So we got to get this DVD. What is the DVD? Do we have a release date for that yet?
This is the ultimate proof that I'm not in salesman mode. I couldn't, gun to my head, couldn't tell you when it's coming out.
All right, well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for because the series.
I know I approved some artwork, so that's how I know we're doing it.
There you go.
You know, I know we spoke about this before, but I know Panda would find this really interesting. I wanted to ask you again to tell the story about how you got the behind the attractions. Because I remember you went in originally for something else, and it kind of just all came about. I would love you to just tell that story one more time. I know Panda would love it. I know this audience is a different audience that we would have had you on that previous show. Please tell us how you got the behind the attractions gig.
Yeah. It's funny. I forgot.
Great story.
Yeah. So about a week or two after Toys That Made Us came out, I was going through security at LAX. It's funny, the woman I'm about to mention, I literally was in her office right before I jumped on with you guys. I literally, as I was out of a movie, I'm putting my phone in my bag to go through the x-ray, and I see at 5:30 in the morning, I got a text from Daisy. And she was and is our head of our entire accounting department. And I'm literally, while I'm waiting to go through my x-ray and wait, I'm literally like, that's not good that the head of accounting is texting you at 5:30 in the morning. Like that cannot be a good thing. I'm like, is all our money gone? Did our bank fail? Whatever. So I finally get my phone like endlessly 3 minutes later. And I guess she didn't think I followed Dwayne Johnson, but I did. And but I hadn't seen it yet. He had posted a picture on Instagram of his laptop, and he was watching on his private jet Toys That Made Us. So about 2 weeks after that, I got a call from a guy named Brian Volk-Weiss at $7, which is Dwayne's company. And he was like, hey, we love your show. We want to do something together. So believe it or not, we developed a show. I mean, it's funny. I say this now, Gene, and it sounds ridiculous. Like the further away I get from this happening, more and more ridiculous this sounds. But it was a show entirely about breakfast cereals. It was literally each episode. It was like the Toys That Made Us for breakfast cereals.
Yeah.
So each episode was about, one about Rice Krispies, one about cornflakes. By the way, you'd be shocked how crazy the cornflakes story was. Yeah. No joke. It involves an asylum that people that couldn't stop masturbating were sent to.
Oh my God.
God.
That led to the creation of cornflakes. No bullshit.
You sure that wasn't Snap, Crackle, and Pop?
Hey! So that was actually pretty good, Panda. So what do you call it? So we pitched it to Disney, and the executive there, I'll never forget this. He called me a week or two later, and he was like, Brian, we love you. We love The Rock. It was probably in opposite order, but anyway. Okay, but we don't want to do a show, believe it or not, about breakfast cereals. I was like, oh, man, that sucks. And he goes, but because we do love both of you, would you consider doing something similar, but for the parks? And that's how it happened.
Wow.
Wow.
Believe it or not, we said yes.
I'm pretty sure you would.
Can we expect any more of that?
Yeah,
Brian, behind
that
the
was my next
attraction?
question.
I'm not at liberty to say.
Oh, that's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
Yep.
Can't wait for them.
I confirm nothing. I confirm nothing.
I love it. So back to the Icons Unearthed series. Where are you? Do you already know where you're going? Like I said, we just heard that I think it was only like a week or two ago that you got picked up for like these next 6 seasons. Do you already know where you're going with these seasons?
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking at them right now.
Anything you can share? Can we get a little?
I hate having to be like this, but
No, it's fine.
I get it. Is James Bond.
Oh, but you know what? I'm excited for that.
But let me tell you why, though. The problem is when it's known what we're doing, it gets actually much, much, much harder to book the interviews. So there is a reason for us being cagey.
Brian, let me ask you real quick, and since you said that, why is that? Or can you even say?
Because what happens is like everybody starts talking, and then it's like, I'm not doing it if he's not doing it. Well, if she's doing it, then if she's getting this, I need to, like, this whole thing builds. And I won't say which one it was, but on one of the series that we did, it happened. And I mean, we were like literally interviewing like the dude who got the coffee 40 years ago. Like, couldn't get anybody.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not, like I said, it was one of the shows we do. We actually haven't even talked about it, but yeah, it was an absolute nightmare.
Understood.
Well, it's funny you said the guy that get the coffee, because that was the thing in the Marvel. That was like the Kevin Feige thing. You mentioned that he was the coffee guy like about 10 times in that series, and I thought is that a dig at Kevin Feige? Because that's great. I loved it.
No, it wasn't at all. It was really I know this is kind of an outdated thing to say these days, maybe, but with some people, and again, I apologize for being so cheesy, but I love this country. I love it so much. And I think, other than my family, I think it's the luckiest thing in the world that I was born here. And I don't say that because I'm just like, woohoo, I love the country I was born in. I just know that my own career could not have occurred had I been born in any other country. It just couldn't have. And I like showing that to people that in this country, I was doing a show last year in Argentina. I was shooting this thing we're doing. And this guy, he was actually our drone operator. He came up to me and he goes, I hear that you were an employee at your company before you bought it. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And he was like, how? And that's Argentina. Like, that is a successful, historical, like that, this is not a crap, anyway, I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm stupid. But my point is, this is a guy in a great country who doesn't even understand that an employee could ultimately buy the company from the prior owner.
Right.
So
that's amazing.
That's why if you watch all the shows we make, I always try to make it clear that you have to look at certain people as who they were at the time and not who they are now, because it was never guaranteed that they could become the person that they are now.
Right.
So that's why I kept hitting that note.
I mean, that's all. That's an amazing story, though. So, the one that you're literally working for them, that end up buying that company, and of course, continuing to become highly successful.
The American dream, man.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you on that.
So what would you say, like, out of the ones that we've already all seen, what was the one that you, I guess I have a twofold question. I'll ask one each, in a row, but what was the one that you enjoyed most that you got to work on? Which was the series that you enjoyed learning about the most?
I don't know if the word learning should be in my answer, but I mean, the one I enjoyed making the most, but again, it's always going to be my answer, is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll tell you a crazy story to make the point. We hired a local crew in Tunisia to go to all the locations to shoot our B-roll. So I'm on a phone call. I'm on a phone. They're on a sat phone. I'm on my cell phone, and I'm looking at a laptop. They were basically wearing body cams, not really, but just to make it easy. So I could see what they were looking at. So I'm giving notes, and literally 10 years earlier, I if you didn't know I was a geek, rest assured, this will make it real fucking clear. My bachelor party, I hope I can tell some X-rated stories. I went to Tunisia, and for my bachelor party, did a 2,000-mile drive around Tunisia, going to all the Star Wars locations. So that was in 2012. In 2022, I'm on the phone looking at the Zoom, and I'm literally able to say to these guys, wait, pan left. You should see, because I was there before them.
Wow.
And I remembered, and I also had lots of pictures I had taken, so I could literally navigate them through these sets or through these ancient ruins that were used to be Mos Espa. So when I tell you that was my favorite, yeah, that was my favorite.
That's pretty cool. And so the other question I had was, what was something that you didn't know going into that you learned that you were like, wow? Like, what was the biggest wow out of all the series that you did? What was the biggest wow moment that you had of something you learned doing it?
Well, here, if you're wondering why I'm stumbling, so I've never done this in my life. So after I was done interviewing Anthony Daniels, and I had to go to London for that. We're in a hotel room. His wife's there, the crew's there, and as we were, and by the way, his agent before the interview, 2 hours, not 1 second more, 2 hours. After a 3.5-hour interview, very surprised to hear Anthony Daniels say, "Hey, you want to get dinner?"
Really?
So me, him,
That's
and
awesome.
his wife went to dinner afterwards, and holy moly, that was definitely a good 2 hours of oh my God, I cannot believe he's. But I will say this: I did get him to say a couple things on film. I mean, the Rick McCallum stuff was pretty crazy. Like, that was pretty nuts. Also, Marsha Lucas told some pretty crazy stories too.
With the DVD on that one.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah. Even what we put in the show, I mean, there was some stuff in there. By the way, the other thing because what I was saying earlier about the volume in which we work, we get to see patterns that would be hard to see otherwise. Very often when you interview people, especially the people who were reluctant to do it, and you realize the reason they were reluctant is because they were self-aware they couldn't keep their mouths shut. So that is often very interesting when you're talking to these reluctant people, and you're like, so what did you eat that day? And they're like, let me tell you about all the sex people were having.
Okay.
Like, I'll take it. Yeah. So that's always, and yeah, Marsha had some good ones. But what I was saying is, very often there's a topic where no one talks about it for decades. And then finally one person starts talking about it, and then everybody starts vomiting like all the information they've been sitting on for decades. And we fall into this every now and then. And one of the things we fell into was Star Wars. Was nobody ever talked about. There was little rumors, but no one ever talked about how bad of a director Marquand was for Return of the Jedi. I think I just butchered his name, but you always heard these things. And when we were interviewing Marsha, she told us a major factor in there, what led to their divorce and why she had the affair, was George was not supposed to direct Return of the Jedi. But because Marquand was messing up everything, George had to direct the movie. Yeah. And because he was directing the movie, he wasn't home the way he was supposed to be, and yada, yada, yada. By luck, I had interviewed Marsha before Anthony Daniels. So when I sat down with Anthony, I was able to say, well, Marsha said da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, she did? All right. So then
I guess it's okay.
Blew the door open.
And it's funny, the military has this expression for basically what I think is like the legal definition, like how it's defined in the law books of when we're allowed to kill people legally. And the expression is weapons free. So like when a pilot is told by headquarters weapons free, that means they can drop the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like what I call a weapons free moment with Anthony Daniels, where he was like, oh, well, I guess if Marsh is talking, I can talk. And then
That's great.
what happens sometimes is these people like start competing with each other. Well, if Marsh had told you that, let me tell you this. And then you're like, what?
Oh my God.
Like, yeah. So it was definitely stuff we heard from Marsha that got the stories flowing.
I got to tell you, man, the Star Wars one was fantastic. The Marvel one's fantastic. They're all really good.
Yeah,
I'm so excited to see the insight on some of these other things. Like, you know what, the Bond movies. I love the Bond movies. I don't know much about the making of the Bond movies, so that I'm really looking forward to. Again, I watch all the Bond movies. I love them all, but not knowing anything other than when they come out, I watch them. I'm really super intrigued about the Bond one because, again, some of the Star Wars stuff you kind of, just being Star Wars fans, you kind of learn, you hear about, you see. Same thing with Marvel, although I learned a tremendous amount of Marvel. I didn't realize how much struggle they went through, to get to where they are now. I mean, now it's like I used to feel like it was DC and then Marvel. Now it's Marvel then DC.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bond one is really intriguing to me. I'm kind of glad you dropped that little nugget because that one I'm really looking forward to because it's so intriguing about how they shoot these movies. They shoot them all over the world. And to know that we're going to get a little insight and hopefully some craziness too, like you have in the Star Wars and Marvel ones. Hopefully a little bit of craziness that we'll get to see in the Bond ones. But now, when have you already started shooting it, or and it's ready?
We've been shooting since December.
Oh wow! Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so when do you have an idea of when that would be released?
I'm going to tell you a truthful answer, but you're going to think I'm full of it. We do know.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Oh, okay. You work out the important stuff. It comes out when it comes out. I get it.
There's schedule. If I yelled through that wall, normally our head of production's there, but he's on set. If I yelled through that wall, I can tell you, but he's not there right now. But no, we have a schedule that's built out for the next 2.5 years just for Icons.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's that. Wow. You know what? Thank God. And I know right now, Panda's wishing that you had the same type of schedule for Behind the Attractions because that was a fantastic series.
It might be filmed already. It might be coming. Ooh,
you never know. But let me tell you something. The way
I shouldn't say this, but Panda, you're making it very clear you don't follow me on Instagram.
I'm going to now. Since I like everything you produce.
That's a clue.
There you go. There you go, Panda. Now you know. But listen,
everything. Paris and Japan that often in the same week.
There you go. Listen, everything you've done is fantastic. Like I said, down to even like the comedy stuff, man. And again, you take these documentaries, you give me your own spins. You kind of can tell, okay, this is Brian was attached to this because there's like a theme that you have to all of them, and they all come off so lighthearted and funny, and yet you still learn so much about them.
You know, I want to give somebody credit for that, and I hope this is not me being a Hollywood asshole name dropping, but I think it's always important to give people credit, whoever they are. I did a show once with Craig Ferguson called Join or Die, which was on the History Channel, and when we were pitching the show, and it was a show that was basically about making history fun. Mm-hmm. And when we were pitching the show, he had this expression. He used it in every single pitch meeting where he said, this show is going to wrap the spinach in ice cream. And that's another rule that we follow where I'll watch cuts and I give notes where I'm like, too much spinach, too much ice cream. By the way, going back to what I said before about Vlix, like I'll watch a rough cut, I'll see a pod and I'll be like, this is phenomenal, but it's a Vlix. Mm-hmm. So like everyone who works here knows these like code words, and that's what leads to our quote unquote style.
Love it, man. And again, it's signature. You can tell it's one of your pieces of work. And man, I can't wait to see what else you guys got coming out. And when I saw that you got picked up for 6 more seasons of it, I'm like, oh, we know we're good for the next couple of years, man. I can't wait to see what you guys coming down the pike. Like we already know that we can look forward to some James Bond stuff. My earpiece came out. Some James Bond stuff, but yeah, kudos on the extension with the series and everything you've gotten up to this point, man. And thank you so much for joining us today, man. Honestly, it's always a treat getting to chop it up with you a little bit. Looking forward to having you come back when we talk a little James Bond. When that's ready to come out, we'll have you back.
Hell yeah, we'll have some scoop.
And I promise to never say former New Yorker again. That was my bad.
I don't forgive you. All right.
Thanks for coming, Brian.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap up a little bit. One commercial. Trying to get my dog to lay in her bed instead of laying on the tile.
What a great guest, by the way.
He's, you know what?
Yes.
I've had the pleasure of interviewing about, I think it was maybe the fourth time, and every single time doesn't disappoint. To be honest with you, we could have had him in here for another half an hour. Easy. So, I just knew we were running a little bit late in the interview. I want to take up more time than we had already done. I think he went about 10 minutes past we already talked about having him, so I felt bad. But he's one of the good ones. And again, he does these documentaries where you think, you always think the connotation on a documentary is that, oh, well, it's going to be a little dry because it's a history lesson, but not his, man. That's why he should teach history with the same spin that he does all these other things, because it's like you said, the whole spinach wrapped in ice cream kind of thing, and it works to a T.
His Icons Unearthed with Star Wars, hearing Anthony Daniels talk about how he didn't want to do the movie, how he didn't want to be there. And like the first couple of days, he thought, this is just stupid. And how he thought low of George Lucas. I was like, I've never heard these things before from C-3PO. Yeah. This is awesome.
About these.
It is fantastic. I know you didn't get a chance to see the Marvel one just yet because it's
I think today I can
it a little for me, but I'm gonna watch it anyways. I don't mind. You know what I mean?
It's fantastic. It really is, and it seems like these DVDs that are going to be must buys as well. So we said thank you again to him for coming in. But you know what? Let's turn our attention back to some sports stuff. We're going to talk a little Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball. So you know what, guys? It's overreaction city. I know it's still super early. Red Sox are playing like we thought, 3-4, and we weren't expecting much from the Red Sox this year, Joey. But you know what? But I'll tell you who looks like they're on fire. Still undefeated is Tampa. Mm-hmm. Now, are we over 6-0? I get it. It's only 6 games, but still, to start off 6-0, and they're the only undefeated team in the league right now. Is this something that they can continue for the rest of the season? Obviously not undefeated. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but this are they going to be continuing to be like the top team in the East throughout the season? What do you think, Joey?
Well, I mean, listen, first of all, it's a little early in the season, especially considering they got to play 160 plus games. I mean, come on. You got teams, so you got teams that sometimes will be completely dead last come All-Star break and then end up winning the division, which is the case. But no, the thing is, if you look Tampa, and ironically, I know you're messing with Boston here, and I know they're pretty much only 3-4. And obviously the funny thing is offensively, the production is there. It's the pitching is the problem because they've scored more than 41 runs, but they've also given up 41 runs. So that's the differential. If you look at Tampa Bay's scoring runs, 44 runs, you're talking, I think it was only like 13 or 14 runs they've given up. So can they sustain this? Yeah, as long as the pitching's there, they're going to continue to win. When you have that kind of run differential, you're going to win a lot of games. And in baseball, if you get out early, you can have some lulls, you can go into some losing streaks and still kind of sustain that as long as you still have the pitching. But yeah, I think Tampa's probably going to be a top dog there. I'm a little surprised. I would expect the Yankees to be, and it's still early. I would expect them to be a little better right now, but the season's so early. I would still expect them to be pushing for the division at the end. I'm hoping Boston starts pulling up, doing a little better here because they do have a decent roster. But yeah, Tampa's definitely can stay with this. There's no question.
There's a couple of teams that are surprising too. On the opposite side, the losing side, Phillies are 1-5. The Phillies were in the World Series last year, and to be 1-5, and they don't look good at all. Mm-hmm. Like not as if they just 1-5, they've had some tough luck losses. They've looked putrid. I'm actually mad. That should have been a series that I feel like the Yankees should have swept. We actually lost one of those games. But like they look about as bad as baseball. That's baseball, Susan. But they look about as bad as you can get. And you know what? Texas has played well. I think Houston is at 3-4, so they've even had a little bit of a slow start. I expect them to come out strong, and that hasn't really happened for them. Texas in first place. I don't see Texas. I'm going to be honest. I don't see Texas being able to be a team that's. I just don't see. And shout out to Jeff Adole, dad, one of our friends over there on the Disney side, big Ranger fan. Also a Dodger fan, but he's also a Ranger fan. He covers the Rangers. I don't see them. I know he was excited about the DeGrom signing. I don't see DeGrom lasting the whole year. I think that the contracts. I don't like that contract because I think he's going to be injury riddled throughout the rest of it. He's up in there in age. He's had some injury history. I think he's going to be fine for like the first half of every season, and then you're going to see him kind of like wilt away each season that he's there. And I think that's going to happen again. And I'll tell you where one of the major surprises being a Yankee fan is a guy that you've been hearing about trading for the last two years is Gleyber Torres has not been who we thought he was coming out of the Padres.
Yeah.
He started off red hot as a rookie and then kind of fizzled for the last couple of years. But now again, we're a weekend. No one's going nuts, but he's usually a slow starter to begin with. So to have him on fire this early in the season, he's batting .421, which is fantastic. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. And here's the part that stands out the most to me is 5 stolen bases. I never really thought of him as a he can run, but I never thought of him as a guy that's going to lead the league in steals. He's leading the league in steals right now with 5 of them. So I'm excited about that. And then the pitching, I think you're going to see in the American League, it's going to come down to Cole, Ohtani, and Cease all year round is who's going to be the best guy. I think it's going to be one of those 3 that are going to win the Cy Young. My bet's on Ohtani winning that and the MVP. I think he actually does both this year. But Abby, what do you see?
I love Ohtani starters. So with baseball, I follow, like I told you, I'm Arizona, follow the Diamondbacks, pay attention to their division. It's funny, I'm going to the Diamondbacks game today. They play the Dodgers. Oh, cool. The Diamondbacks, it's funny, they're almost there. But I mean, and you would think, I think they started off against LA and they split the series. So I'm like, oh, okay, we're kind of giving them a little run for your money. I still think they'll finish. It'll probably be, it's tough between Padres and Dodgers right now. It looks like the Padres are on absolute fire. The one thing this week that like stuck out is obviously with like the pitch count and everything, the stolen bases has gone up significantly just in the week.
Yeah, with that new rule.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is what they wanted. It's so much more exciting knowing that there could be a stolen base at any time. The pitchers can't throw over anymore. They can only do it twice. Mm-hmm. And the bases are bigger, so it's going to be it's the same distance. It's not.
And the games are even ending 20 minutes sooner. Thank God.
You got 14 seconds between pitches now, so it kind of moves things along. Yeah.
Anytime I could see an actual baseball instead of seeing a guy fix his cup is a win for me. So I don't need to see someone fix their cup for 20 minutes in between each pitch. I really don't. So I'm happy about that.
I saw Machado got ejected because of he
argued it, yeah.
Yeah, and then he was just like, "You're out of here." I love how over dramatic it always is. You know what I mean?
The Padres, to me, I think are a team to. I mean, that squad is stacked. I mean, Soto, Machado, the pitching staff.
Soto hasn't done as well within the first week, to be honest. But I mean, again, weekend.
Yeah, we're a weekend. So again, we're going to be talking about baseball all year round. The other one I want to say to look out for too, and hopefully, I know it's a tough place to pitch, is Freeland from Colorado. 2 starts, no runs yet. So 2 quality starts, no runs. He's a guy I think to look out for in the NL. Again, it's Colorado. It's a tough place to pitch.
Oh yeah,
with that air, but
it's air, man. Them balls travel.
I'd love to see them finally get have a pitcher that defies those odds. And Freeland looks like he could be the guy. So hopefully that start continues for Freeland throughout the season. But we'll be talking about the Major League Baseball season all year round, all season long. So right now it's a little early, so we won't go crazy into it. We do have a even more fun topic that I love talking. It's NFL. We're going to talk about it right now. NFL head coaching hot seats. I know it's early. Talking about early. That's definitely early. But let's face it. These guys right here are definitely in the hot seats. Maybe a couple more. Let's go around the horn. Abby, who do you see as the one that's the most on the hot seat?
Let me see. I literally have a list of like 7. I'm like, let me see. Let me go. Hold on. I have 2 more.
Oh, she had the notes.
No, I know. I have a whole thing because there's a couple I crossed out. So like Arthur Smith from the Falcons, I ended up crossing him out. And I'm surprised you had on there Dennis Allen. Isn't it like his second year this year? And they didn't really have a quarterback.
I feel like Dennis Allen he's coached before, and he's so non-existent. Honestly, when you try to think of all the head coaches in the league, you pretty much name all, and then you get to wait, who's New Orleans head coach again? He's so blah. And we said it when we joked around before. The name Dennis Allen is boring.
I think Gene just doesn't like his name. That's the problem. He just doesn't like his name.
Panda, do you agree? Come on, Panda. Dennis Allen.
It's two first names. That's the problem.
John Smith. Might as well just be John Smith or something like that.
Bob Thomas.
It's such an irrelevant name. I mean, and again,
an irrelevant name.
And Abby, honestly, is he that great of a head coach? He's been on the stops before. He's never really impressed. He's a better, keep him as a coordinator. He's a better coordinator.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how it is with Carr now signing there, but Carr is going to be leading the Saints pretty much. That's going to be his whole freaking team.
Yeah, I think it's a great signing for Carr, and he's going to have some weapons there too. They got Olave from last year in the draft. They'll add to it a little bit too. I don't think they're going to have Kamara. Doesn't look like he's coming back. I would.
No.
I don't even think he should be on a team going forward. But I don't even know why he's still there. I guess they'll let the due process take its course. But
I mean, if I had to pick one, oh my God. So for me, it's going to be head coach of Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, and then Brandon Staley from the Chargers, if I'm going to throw two names out there. But I also threw out, I think very closely, and we talked about this a little bit before, Ron Rivera. I love him to death. There's no hate in my body, but the Commanders, first of all, he should want out of there with all their shit show of a franchise right now. I mean, with all the scandal and everything, but they've been mediocre. And I mean, a lot of that has been because of the quarterback issues. But I think Staley gets a lot of heat with the Chargers just because his actual play. I mean, starting all of your starters for a meaningless game. And then let's not go back to you had a 27-point lead. And you blew it. Now, mind you, I bet on the Jags that game, so I'm very happy they won. I was like, stop watching. I like the half. I'm like, there ain't no point in watching this anymore. It's a blood show. And then I was like, oh, they're catching up. And to do that, I mean, come on, dude. And you have a star. It's Justin Herbert, right? Quarterback over there. Yeah, you have a star over there. And I don't know.
It's a loaded squad. Offense and defense loaded. There's no excuse to not be. Joey will tell you, they were my Super Bowl pick going into the season. So when they just couldn't put the string together games, right? My Super Bowl pick was the 49ers and the Chargers. They just couldn't string enough games. To me, he's my guy. He's my guy that needs to. I would have fired him. To be honest with you, I would have gotten rid of him last year. That team was too good to not finish better than what they did. They did pick it up a little bit towards the end of the year to get back into the playoffs, but and again they did deal with some injuries, but it didn't even matter. I can't even say, oh well, I feel bad because they dealt with injuries, because when it came down to when he did have a healthy team and didn't need to play them, he still played them anyway. He lost a receiver because he played him with a big lead in a game they didn't need to play him. So I can't even give him to say, well, they had some injuries. No, because he plays guys anyway. So you can't even give him that benefit.
Another thing with him, isn't he more coming from a defensive background? So, and it's their defense is mediocre at best out of the 32 teams. I think they fall somewhere 20.
And they have a better roster than that.
Yeah.
They have a better. That's what I'm saying. They underperform and they underwhelm. It seems like the whole season. And I just think that's a squad. I think that you don't even need the head coach to be that great, and they should be able to win. So when they don't excel with the guy that they thought could be the guy, you got to move on quick, because I feel like you can get a guy that's not that great and can win in spite of not being that great of a coach, because that team is so loaded. You know who I'd like to see to go there? You know what I'd love to see take that team over? I think he'd be fantastic with it, because the offense is so set and he already has the players on defense to make him better. You want to know who my guy is?
Oh,
Rex Ryan.
Interesting.
He's only defensive minded. That's the problem.
But that's the thing. The offense if you just get a guy that can call decent play calls and let that guy just worry about the offense and let him fix that defense, which already has names, that they have names there. They have the roster. They just need a mindset. They need like a culture there on defense, which is there someone that can do a better job than Rex Ryan? Could you imagine if Rex Ryan was the coach? And again, I get there's a lot to be left desired on offense. I get that. But on defense, he would make that team totally like a shell. It would be right now. It would be a shell of what it could be. And on offense, just get a guy that's adequate at calling plays. And that offense with Justin Herbert at quarterback, those receivers with Eckler talk out there and say, hey, put that trade request, stay here. We're building something. That team would be so dangerous with Rex Ryan as the coach. I really believe it.
We were expecting. Remember, just like you mentioned, we were expecting. I was expecting MVP type year for Herbert.
Yeah.
No question, just because of the year they had before. I will say this: I think you downplayed, and I understand that every team deals with injuries. I think you downplayed the amount of injuries they had. I mean, it was pretty bad. Like it looked like the Niners from a couple of years ago, where they pretty much had nobody.
But I can't give him the benefit of the doubt on that because he plays them anyway when he doesn't need to play certain guys. So he doesn't get that benefit.
I agree. I'm not saying he's a good coach. What I'm saying is, yes, they should be winning with that roster, period.
I want to fire today. I want him out. Joey, who's your guy? We're running up against it. So real quick, who's your guy?
My guy's probably going to be my two guys I'm looking at, McCarthy. And I know they win a lot of games during the regular season, but they just can't he can't get it out of his quarterback. Can't stop throwing interceptions in big games. And they just can't seem to win the big games. And as long as they have to keep playing the 49ers in the playoffs, they're never going anywhere. So it's just, they seem to have their number, and I'm all for it. I'm here for it. But yeah, Jerry's got to start taking a look at that, because you got to figure out what's going to get them over the hump. And it might not be an OBJ or, somebody else. It might be a coaching change. I don't know. The other one to me is going to be Josh McDaniels. He's not a good coach to begin with. He wasn't good in Denver. He's a great coordinator, and he cannot make personnel decisions to save his life. Now, does he have some players right now? Yeah, he does. I mean, you got Adams, and now you got Jimmy G. Listen,
but that means pressure though. That now the pressure's on. Now you've got.
That's what I was going to say. So now the question is he going to be able to excel with this? The only thing with the Raiders, to me, that environment is not conducive to a professional team. And I said this when I moved to Vegas. I'm like, that's a train wreck waiting to happen. You got professional players, a lot of money in a city where you can just go fucking buck wild. Like.
There's a reason why it's called Sin City. So,
exactly. So, but you're right. This is the season for that he's going to be under pressure. Now you have a legit starting quarterback that has shown he can win. You have a legit elite receiver, and they do have some players on the team. So the question is now, what's he going to do? I still don't believe in him, but those two, to me, even as early as it is with McDaniels, he's just proving his track record is not really good.
He couldn't even win with Carr.
Exactly. And Carr, to me, is actually a pretty good player, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like the fact that the Jets had him pretty high at first. And then, I knew New Orleans was probably going to sweep in and sign him quickly, because I think we openly, even though the Jets didn't say it, we openly had Aaron Rodgers as our first pick. Yes. And I would never want to be someone's second choice either. So I completely understand why he went over there. But it's like, he's like always like a top 15 quarterback, Derek Carr. His stats aren't bad, and you couldn't do anything with that.
Agreed.
And is Jimmy G really better? And
no,
then
I don't think so.
Waller. They traded Waller over to New York.
Yeah. I think Jimmy G is on par with Carr as far as talent. However, Carr is much more durable. And that's coming from a 49er fan. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So is he going to be much different than Carr? No, I don't know. I don't think so. You're trading one for another. So I guess we'll see. But those are my guys.
Panda, what do you got?
Abby, who are we picking, Abby? Whoever Abby's picking, I'm there.
And stuff, but there's a bunch of people I had on this list. I told you, head coach for Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski. I think the Browns, they have a lot going on with Deshaun Watson and all of that. Horrible, my God! Like
that franchise is a shit show to begin with.
Yeah, and then Todd Bowles. I'm interested to see what Todd Bowles does.
Perfect jerseys for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Todd Bowles is maybe one of the best D coordinators in this generation, but just is not a head coach. And he seems like one of the nicest guys in the league. He really does.
Oh, yeah, I like him.
So it's a shame he's just not a head coach. But guys, we're gonna end it there. We are up. We're at the 2 o'clock mark. So we are gonna have to get out of here quick. But guys, thank you so much for being part of this team, and I can't wait to see what we do every Friday going forward. Abby, I know you're going to be around a couple of different days, so you're going to get to work with a bunch of different people, and I think you're going to finally find a home for you on Wednesdays. I think it's going to be mostly that. But guys, everyone out there, have a happy Easter and just a happy holiday weekend. And guys, I say it all the time, right, Joey? Have a great today, a better weekend, and we'll see you guys Monday.
Bye.
That's the pop off for today, folks. Thank you to all of our listeners, as well as our producers, Patty Puddles and Fareed Kameo. And make sure you tune in tomorrow to hear what these hooligans will pop off about next.